Today, we have an injury update for pitcher Paul Blackburn. Plus, we get a little bit of insight from Jesse Winker himself, since joining the team has been a revelation in the outfield for the New York Mets. What is going on, everybody? You are locked into Mets Digest, your one-stop shop for Mets content all around the world. My name is Flobo Boyce, and I am a Metropolitan, and I know you are too. Thank you so much for putting this channel as part of your YouTube/Mets diet, but I gotta do the whole thing, man. You know the deal. If you haven't already, you got to do me the solid and make sure you hit that subscribe button. Then make sure you are the first one to know. We have news and updates going all over the channel because, frankly, myself and Mike D'Angelo, we scour the internet to make sure you guys are in the know for everything that's happening for the New York Mets. And actually, as I record this, 2 games down in that Chicago series, 2 wins back to back. I've never been in such a odd position where you're going against the worst team in Major League Baseball, yet you're still kind of nervous about the possibility of having a streak. But as I say that, one of the hottest players on the team is not Pete Alonso, despite his home run on Saturday. It's Jesse Winker. Basically just been on fire since being in Arizona and having more playing time. And I was wondering what that meant for him, going from being a Mets villain to some, not me, but to some, onto the Metropolitan squad as it is. Got to give a shout out to everyone over at The Athletic that actually sat down with Jesse Winker this week just to get a little idea of the expectations he's had for the team. Now, just to give you a bit of a backstory, the Mets have been treading water, more or less above 500, below 500. There was crazy dips. There was the OMG, the Grimace era, and so they became buyers at the deadline. Jesse Winker was one of those pieces that was an upgrade, but definitely was kind of curious of how it was going to shake out. Starling Marte had not come back yet from his injury, so the idea was putting him in a rotation of outfielders, which was kind of a shock to Jesse because he was an everyday outfielder. Check this out. Athlete goes on to say, he quote from Jesse Winker himself, "You're getting traded to a team that's right in the middle of a playoff hunt, and that's what you dream about as a player," Winker said. "So it's very simple. You'll do whatever it takes, whatever is asked of you on any given day. I'm just so thankful to be here. It's been amazing." That was what he told Will Salmon, who was covering the article, the full article, over at The Athletic. And this is what I'm talking about, right? When you understand about the needs it takes to make sure a team wins, but that outfield is crowded. And we talked about what that means and what that looks like next season. But yeah, you have Starling Marte, you have Harrison Bader, you have Brandon Nimmo, you have Jesse Winker in there as well. And a lot of these guys are on 1-year contracts. So what does that constitute? What does that look like going into next year? And even though Jesse Winker was kind of an okay hand the past couple of games, it looks like he may have got himself a spot on the 2025 squad. Just take a look at the breakdown we have right now. Nothing that jumps out of you, but I do think there's something to be said about I call it the souvenir cup quotient. Sometimes you may not be the most electrifying person on the squad, or you may not be the first offensive option, but you have a grit, you have the heart, you have some of the numbers, you have some of the clutch hits to really put you in that conversation to see why they should retain you if they decide to do so. In fact, this puts a lot more pressure on the front office of what they're going to do. And it may really have a different composition as far as our outfield moving on next season. I'm also looking at Harrison Bader in a situation. He's also on a 1-year deal. His contract ends this year. If this was May, I'll probably have said, oh, yeah, definitely. But as we head towards the end of it, the offense of Bader is kind of giving me a bit pause. But got to give a shout out to Jesse Winker, still less than 32 years old, still have some wheels on him, able to stretch out, able to put the afterburners on the bases, even though he's frequently subbed out and pitch ran 4, which is also the reason why I think we should stick with Tyrone Taylor, but maybe I was being that guy. Not really trying to stir the pot. I'm not the general manager, but it's cool to see that you have someone who's willing to do a whole new role with a whole new squad, and I wonder what that's going to be. So let me ask you this. If you're watching this right now, let me know in the comments below. If you're the general manager, you have somebody who's been a decent hand, who's willing to tell you, put me wherever you need me to be. You can use me whatever you want. I want to be on a contending team, kind of at a veteran age. What do you do? Is Jesse Winker worthy of being re-signed. That's going to be a developing story. I want to make sure we have a little bit of that primer here because I got a feeling that's going to shake out as the season rolls on. But in other news, I was perusing the interwebs and I saw this one from Tim Healy, and Tim Healy covers the Mets on a publication called Newsday. It's another publication with the paywall, but we got something for you. He says Paul Blackburn, right-hand bruise, is scheduled to make a rehab start with AAA Syracuse on Tuesday. That lines up to him to return to Mets rotation 5 or 6 days later. So let's give it a backstory there. He's on the 15-day IL, which means you can't really activate Paul Blackburn until that 15 days has elapsed. So of course you want to be able to make sure he's ready to go. But the question does kind of remain about Paul Blackburn being another of those deadline acquisitions. We weren't expecting the world. We all knew what happened at our trade deadline. People were trying to raise the prices. No one really wanted to overpay for prospecting idea. Paul Blackburn had a tremendous upside, but despite his first appearance, really wasn't the number 4 or number 5 we were asking for. I'm not trying to say to pack him up and ship him off, but he was already having some struggles when he got injured. So there's a bit of pressure on Blackburn to at least be a workhorse to eat up those innings. Thankfully, Quintana is kind of getting back into form, so he doesn't have that pressure of winning the 5th game. But look, let's be honest. We are just, as of this recording, 2 games out of a playoff spot, and the Chicago Cubs are 2 games behind us. So you can't drop a week. You need all hands on deck. So if you're going to bring Paul Blackburn back into the rotation, back into the mix, I'm glad he's able to get himself a AAA Syracuse start. But that does kind of answer the question, right? We're talked about also, besides the outfield, one of the other things people talk about, or one of the things complain about, is our pitching status and what that's going to be in that last month. The, no pun intended, the ghost of Kodai Senga is still looming large here. Somebody who's recovering from a lower body injury, who's been training the arm still to be ready to go if he were to be healthy. But if he isn't healthy, who is going to be that next man up? We saw Tyler McGill this week and he got the win, even though for me personally, I wasn't really that confident in having them in the rotation. So now more than ever, whether you like to or not, Paul Blackburn has a little bit more pressure on himself. So towards the end of his tenure before being traded by the Athletics, it really wasn't great to begin with. But I will say these are solid numbers, a solid base. Probably not going to be on a playoff roster, probably not going to be your Game 7 person or option, but to get you to that Game 7, to get you to that playoffs, it's still very valuable on this team, even if you have to move them into long relief, just because we have seen also some of the inefficiencies in Brazoban, for example, in the bullpen. Are we seeing sometimes, even though we want to trust that Quintana is on the upswing, he did have a really rough August as well. So if you don't want to use him as a starter, you could probably use him in the bullpen as well as long relief. But the idea is that he's on his way back, probably just 1, maybe 2 rehab starts over there in Syracuse, and then he'll be able to join the team full time. So I got to say, what does that look like for you? What does that make you feel as a Mets fan? Are you more confident? Are you more hype at the fact that we're going to have more options on the outfield, on the mound as well? Is the cavalry coming? Or are you going, I am not that confident about our prospects? Let me know in the comments below. Hey, look, listen, this is Mets Digest. Thank you so much for checking this out. You're at the end of the video. I'm Flobo Boyce, and alongside Mike D'Angelo. Thank you so much for checking out this video and all the other videos here on the channel. Drop a comment below, hit a subscribe, hit a like if you like it. And until next time, it's LGM to the bitter end.